everybody, Kathy here. Today is the 12th of June, it's Friday, and I was going to talk to you today about why I chose the home that I chose. I'm going to kind of take you through that process on what my decision making factors were. Stay tuned. Hi everybody. So first of all, when I was starting to look at homes again, I know I've mentioned that I was looking at maybe doing a tiny home or a park model, something small. I was even looking at shed homes, meaning I would take a shed and bring it up to code for a home, and something small, something in the 400 square foot, 500 square foot at the most department. And I was looking first at the tiny homes by Escape. I really liked how they were built. They were pretty pricey, running, you know, $89,000, $90,000, $100,000. And then I was also looking at park models. Looked again at stick built, and I actually got an estimate on what I could do a stick built for in my square footage of about 600 square feet is what I was looking at. And then I also wanted to look at manufactured homes. Now, keep in mind, this is my first time I've ever really looked into manufactured homes. So I did research, and my research led me and gave me a lot of information. My research led me clear to pre-1976, when at the time the mobile homes, they were called mobile homes then because actually they were mobile homes, were delivered on wheels, and oftentimes the axles and the wheels were left on that mobile home, even the double wides. Back in those days, prior to 1976, there were no standards to a mobile home. They could use any kind of different kinds of glues and materials. Not necessarily would they be code to, you know, like local, state, and county building codes. So that was something that I learned I didn't know. However, after 1976, standardization came into effect, and they started building these homes, no longer considered mobile homes, but now manufactured homes. Also, they're also considered modular homes and prefab homes at this time. This is 2020, of course. So the difference now is that they're using same materials and the same state, county, local codes, building codes that a normal stick-built house would be made or built from and had to follow. And the manufactured slash modular slash prefab homes of today are HUD approved. So as I started looking more and more into the manufactured home and finding this information out, one of the things that I ran into was the manufactured homes that are built today. The only real difference between the manufactured home and a stick built that's actually built on your property is the fact that it's not built on your property. It's built mostly in the factory, and then the home is delivered to your site and the build is finished there. By the time my home gets here and is placed on my concrete foundation, which is yet another interesting point, it'll be another 5 or 6 weeks before I actually can legally move in. So back to the foundation, one of the things with a mobile home back in the day prior to 1976, those were not necessarily meant to be put on a foundation and affixed to a foundation. Particularly now, since 1976, the standardization with materials, etc., and as the industry grew, the homes are being built in the factory. Yes, they're being transported unfinished to the site, yes, and then they're being attached to your foundation, whatever that is. I chose to do a concrete foundation, a concrete slab foundation. However, a lot of people just do a layer of dirt, a layer of rock, and then they do a vapor barrier of like a plastic. So that's your crawl space. The homes that are built today, the manufactured homes that are built today in the factory, you put them on top of a foundation. And it's placed, I guess, on block above the foundation, and that is all skirted in with another material, and then you have a crawl space. So finding that out kind of changed my mind about doing a stick built, because I realized that I could probably get a manufactured home sooner. So I started shopping for manufactured homes, and one of the things that I learned as I was shopping, because I was looking first for a like a park model. I wanted something around the 400-ish square foot. I wanted something around 400. So anything $399 and less is considered an RV. And okay, now, so the park model itself, those are usually 400 square feet-ish, and they're single wide. So they could be a little bit more, but they're single wide. However, many people buy those and they put them on their land because they're small. Maybe it's a vacation property or whatever the case may be. Those are also HUD approved, which is a good thing. So I considered that one as well, the park model. But the park model, I found out later, you cannot, unless it's a certain amount of square footage, you cannot marry that to the land to have a mortgage. So once I found that out, I had already, we talked about the tiny home, and really what does make a tiny home? The loose definition is anything under 400 square feet, but I've seen people make tiny homes that are, you know, custom, elaborate, high materials exceeding what the local code says it should be. Those are pretty expensive. And I've also seen people make a tiny home out of their trailer, out of their camper trailer. And, you know, re-siding it, tearing it down, but it's usually always, a tiny home's usually always built on a trailer with wheels. Those are typically meant to move. However, logically speaking, a tiny home is any small home. And other different states have different definitions of what a tiny home actually is. And I was looking at a tiny home, like 200 square feet or 300 square feet, before I started looking at the park models. And I decided for the money, for what I wanted and the money, it was not worth it to me. And the materials that I chose with the manufactured home were and or exceeded a lot of the homes that I looked at that were considered tiny and high end. So I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but the tiny home, because it's on a trailer and on wheels, could not be, again, married to the land. So you could not get a mortgage that involved both pieces. So when I went shopping, and I went shopping for that park model, I went to a manufactured home place, and I said, you know, I'm interested in that one right there. He says, it's $82,000. I can give you a deal, and how are you going to pay? And you know, I can say, okay, I'll pay cash. And then realizing that this was not going to work for me because I could never ever take a mortgage out on this property with both pieces, the land and the home. So with that said, I started looking for a place on my property where a manufactured home or a stick-built might work out. And again, I found that 532 square foot design and started. This is the original design of the house before I made all the custom changes to it. Started working from that position. Then the home, once it's attached, is completed on site, like, which is going to be the siding on both sides, and the porches and the French doors are going to be installed. I do consider my home a tiny home because to me it's a lot tinier than what I've had in the past. And it's about 748, maybe 768 square feet. The best part about this is that it is still good value. It is made with the same materials as a stick-built home is. This sheetrock and you name it, real paint, everything, not covered with a vinyl plastic stuff. And the flooring I put down is a high-end vinyl. However, that's not my intention to keep that flooring because there is a seam between the living room section and the dining room section. So I intend to put in that wood laminate that sticks up a little bit, so that should cover that seam. That's the only downer I found on the manufactured home, is that seam, because my home's going to come in two parts. When it came right down to it, I could have had a stick-built house for about the same money that I'm getting my manufactured home. I would have had more choices in finishings, like more choices in cabinets, more choices in flooring, more choices in countertops, etc. Which I did get several choices going with the manufactured home, but I would have had unlimited choices had I gone with the stick-built. The time difference for a manufactured home from the time of order to the time of delivery on your site is about 6 months, unless you buy it off lot, however, where I live, I needed a higher snow load roof, and I also purchased the extra energy efficient home. So I added something higher insulation, higher snow load roof. I talked about a shed home. I was going to buy a shed, and then I would customize it with the roof, higher roof load, and then also it would be built with certain size, like 2x4s. I can't think of what to call that, and then certain kind of floor joists that were a certain distance apart. So that was a consideration too. And the reason I decided against that, it was going to be a pain in the ass. That's why I decided not to do that.